Okay, crap. I kinda forgot that February is a short month. And after doing 2 comic book reviews in 1 week, I figured I still have time to talk about this game. I know we're a little bit into March already, and I should have started the next marathon of games that I wanted to look at before May gets here for Star Wars month, but fuck it, let's just make this quick and get it over with. So as a gazillion of you would know from watching the Game Grumps playthrough of Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric for the Wii U, this game has been panned across the entire rectum of the world. Everyone's views on it seem to be biasly negative, and I myself don't have a strong opinion on it because I have not played it for myself. I know that a majority of people on the internet try to justify that you should hate a game based on its initial gameplay design and how other people play it, especially since a majority of people like to bandwagon a trendy channel like the Grumps because it would be too challenging to form a unique opinion that was based on biased terms. But the way I see it, I should be able to form an opinion based on my own experiences and then talk about them with a clear-cut, non-biased analysis. If something doesn't work, I'll point it out and say how it can be improved. If there's something visually appealing, I'll compliment it. For now, let's focus on today's subject, Sonic Boom Fire and Ice for the 3DS. Clearly, Sanzaru Games has been watching too many Game of Thrones episodes to suggest that their next Sonic Boom project should be named after the original title book series, A Song of Fire and Ice. Regardless, I'm surprised that anyone in their right mind would think that after the huge commercial and critical flop that occurred to both Sonic Doom Rise of Failure and Shattered Gameplay, that it would be a good idea to create a follow-up on the 3DS. Usually if a game doesn't sell well and receives poor results, you can disregard whatever hope you have of trying to make a good sequel. But Sanzaru Games made it clear that they had listened to feedback regarding Shattered Gameplay's reception, and they really wanted to try and win back the trust of audience members with a decent game. At first, I was quite skeptical, because this was the only announcement that was ever made regarding any Sonic games for 2016, and we didn't get any news or new games for the Blue Blur in 2015. But thankfully, ever since the announcement of Sonic Mania and Project Sonic 2017, I figured it would be the right time to at least give the series a chance. It's my first time diving into it after all, not counting the demo I played of Shattered Gameplay and Sonic Dash 2 on the iPhone, so let's see how this game fares and if it's worth your time and energy. Dr. Eggman is up to no good once again, as he starts collecting a mysterious new mineral known as Ragnium to power up his robotic army. His excavation efforts to harvest the mysterious Tiberium-like crystal is causing the rest of Sonic's world to go haywire, however, as mysterious fishes containing fire and ice powers are popping up all over the place. Due to the power of being the main protagonist, however, Sonic and Amy manage to indiscriminately absorb these powers to seal the fishes shut, and without other given context to how it works aside from the one-off joke by Tails claiming Breaking Bad science, the rest of the team eventually obtain the power to switch between fire and ice modes, whereby dashing past a huge ice block wall in fire mode will cause it to melt without affecting the physics of water, and by touching water while in ice mode causes it to freeze, which leads to more creative platforming stages. However, Eggman is all too aware of the fact that Sonic and his gang of cartoon merchandise buddies are out to stop him, so he creates his own merchandising robot called Defect, a robot who was designed to be the butt end of being Eggman's neglect towards him, and while he looks like he could be a very intimidating and kind of intelligent looking villain, given that he's overlooming the main characters on the cover of the game, he also kind of looks like Junk Warrior from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. I hope you're happy with my Yu-Gi-Oh! Joke, Hip and Turtle Gamer. You only encounter the Dwarfish robot during cutscenes and in a few boss fights, which only occasionally change up the pace of how normal levels play out. Kudos to Sanzaru Games for making things a little bit more simple and easy to follow up this time. I enjoy a complex story when I can, but this is something I think the game needed to make up for the lackluster and unbearable story Rise of Failure had. The writing in this game is pretty comparable to that of the TV show. It has its funny moments every once in a while, and unlike Shattered Gameplay where the in-game cutscenes were all text boxes and characters verbally questioning the script and having a bunch of epileptic seizures, all of the cutscenes are now fully voiced and animated. I don't know why Knuckles decided to get his wisdom teeth operation done on the day they decided to animate this game, because his cheeks are a bit too puffy and Styx is... well, she's admiring that robot more times than she should be. Okay, now I think it's time that we cover the gameplay on this, and this is something that I was the most curious about, because, as we already know, from the previous Sonic Boom 3DS game that came out 2 years ago, it was heavily criticized for using elements that were very similar to the likes that you'd see in a Metroidvania game, and unless it's the kind of game that actually fucking rewards you well for going out of your way to explore, those kind of elements don't really mix well with a Sonic game. But the difference here is that in Fire and Ice, It's at least trying to go to the 2D platforming roots and try to emulate what it was like with the original Sonic Genesis games. But my question is that with the fire and ice powers, does it actually live up to the rest of the game, and does it bring anything new and something exciting and challenging to the player if they have no idea what to look forward to in this game? For starters, let's look at the positives. The gameplay in this is very similar to the likes of the original Genesis games, in that it plays like a 2D platformer with all of the quirks and abilities of a 3D platforming adventure. You're not required to build up speed like in the earlier games in order to go fast. You have a sprint button to do all the running around, which is confusing due to the fact that you have no reason to really walk normally, unless you like taking a brisk jog across a snowy forest. On top of that, the game series' main focus has always been about exploration, rather than the fast-paced platforming that gave you an option to explore if you wanted to. Exploring for cryptic secrets is not something this game goes for. Rather, the secrets are built around the more non-linear paths that you can decide to take if you really want to go after collectibles. And most of the time, the more non-linear paths are blocked off by a cube of ice that you need to melt, or by using the abilities of your 5 friends to access them. Sonic has his trademark spin dash and air volley, which gives him a lot of good air recovery. Tails has the ability to fly and use giant fans to elevate to higher areas. He even has a sniper rifle that he can aim at various mirrors to open up pathways. Sticks can use her boomerang, Knuckles can dig underground, and with new playable character Amy, she can use her hammer on both enemies and these rising platforms. On the occasion that you do unlock these characters, you'll only use their abilities for that one level to get a good idea of how their abilities work, and that's just for the one level. The developers surely don't try to shoehorn a lot of these abilities when you just want to go from stage to stage as quickly as you can, and just complete the levels as you go. These kinds of obstacles only really pop up when you want to go out of your way to find those collectibles, which I highly welcome. Yet at the same time, once you finish collecting all of these little trinkets, it kind of negates any reason to go back and play any of them again. And I counted many times during my first playthrough how I would often play as Sonic more times than I would Amy, Sticks, Tails, or Knuckles, and that's because I like to try and break my own time record and experiment with all of these air boosting maneuvers. When it comes to the other characters' abilities, they're mainly situational, and on the rare occasion, I might switch over to one of my buddies to try out one of their moves on an enemy for the one time, but that's about it. This also extends to the fire and ice gimmick. Now, like I said, the fire and ice ability can be used to uncover secret areas, but you also use them for various platforming sections. You see a wall of ice in front of you? Melt it. See any physics-defying water over a pit of spikes? Freeze it. Any ice below you while using a dash panel? Melt it. Manage to cut off the hand of a powerful Sith Lord while he is at your knees with his and your lightsaber in your hand at his neck?
Do it.
It's very easy to grasp the idea, and by hitting either the shoulder buttons or by pressing the touchpad to cycle through either powers, it becomes second nature to master. I only wish that these powers could be used for very complex level design, and on the rare occasion they do that, but it's very brief and it doesn't really allow it to soak up and appreciate the amount of detail and careful attention that the programmers put into them. On the other hand though, when it comes to boss fights, I find it strangely a lot more better when you switch between characters and use the fire and ice abilities against Defect to take out his monstrous minions. Linear stages and boss fights aren't the only thing you can do in this game. There's a bunch of ways that you can collect Ragnium, and add a percentage counter to your completion record by playing these little mini-games, which involve collecting either these trading cards that you collect in Knuckles' place to unlock races. One of them involves using a submarine, a speedboat, and then going underground in a Mach Speed section to seal off more fissures, and the other mini-game involves racing Eggman's robots when you reach the midpoint on a particular island. And the races are not all that hard. I beat them pretty easily, and you don't really get anything out of it unless you beat the record time, which grants you additional Ragnium. Now, collectibles is all fine and good, as well as the shields, but the other collectible that I think the game should have taken advantage of is that Ragnium stuff that the game was early emphasizing as a new power source. See, you collect these things from robots and these dragon rings, which are the not Super Mario Red coins, and you mainly use them to upgrade your robots whenever you purchase them. Problem is that you need to collect a lot of this stuff, and even if you reach the end of the game with all of the side missions completed, you won't have enough to get all the upgrades. I guess this is supposed to make up for the fact that there's a lack of need to go back and replay levels, but odds are, if I'm going to replay a level, it's because I'm doing it for a review or a let's play, and I don't know if this is a game I want to pick up again. I mean, aside from all of that, the game looks pretty good, not super eye-catching, but it's easy on the eyes. The voice acting isn't too bad, the game could have been better, could have been worse. The only real problem I have with this game is the music. It's not particularly memorable, and aside from the main theme, which I can't get enough of, a lot of the songs are your basic run-of-the-mill adventure collection of songs, which I guess attributes to the TV show aspect of the Sonic Boom name, but you gotta try harder than this, guys. Also, I don't think there's any real reason to come back to play this game once you're done. It's simple and that's about it. A safe game with only mildly interesting gameplay mechanics, and in the end, that's all it accomplishes. You could go out of your way to grind all the Ragnium to upgrade your robots if you wanted to, but even then, your save file will show up as 100% complete, even if you don't do that. And that pretty much covers all I wanted to talk about. I'm sorry if you guys were expecting more, but that's Sonic Boom Fire and Ice for you. I don't know if this game is worth the $60 it asks for in Australia, and I don't know what the conversion rate is for that in America, but try and wait for a price drop, or ask a friend to get it for you. I only recommend this game if you're a die-hard Sonic fan, and you want to see how the game plays out for yourself. As for me, I think I'm going to give the Sonic the Hedgehog video game series a bit of a break. I've been looking at a lot these past couple of months, and I think it's just about time that I give them a break. It's about time I moved on to another certain 2D platforming series, and I know some of you might be thinking Mario when I say that, and no, not at this point. I'm probably going to take a look at that sometime in October, because you know, I haven't actually really covered a Mario game before, and I think it's about time I did that, being a 2D platformer whore and all. No, the next game that we're going to take a look at that has 2D platforming involves a certain belly-dancing genie girl from the town of Scuttletown, and very recently she got a new game last year, and ever since that game came out and I played it, I figured it would be a good time to go back to the originals and see how they compare to the newest installment. Are they good? We'll just have to find out when we take a look at the Shantae collection sometime next month. And hopefully I can get through all of those Shantae games before the beginning of May for our next Star Wars month. If not, I'll just save the Shantae collection for the next month after I do the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic marathon for Star Wars month. Until next time, take care of yourselves, have a good evening, and as always, stay awesome, lovely viewers. I'll see you all next time. I forgot to put my headphones on for this review.